I'm sorry.
And this is Don McLean, American Pie.
For the core.
The core. 1971. What was that song? Bye bye, Miss American Pie.
Yeah.
Is that the song?
Oh, I don't know. Something to the levee and the levee was dry. Oh yeah, it is. That's the chorus. So bye bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry.
All right. Well, good.
So wait a minute. I wonder if I've ever heard this version.
What's a levee?
I think it's the water hole.
Okay. Da, da. And that's it. That's all I know. Something about a Chevy and a levee. Levee was dry.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's do it.
The chorus I'm very familiar with.
Yeah. So hopefully there's some deeper meaning. Or some meaning.
Well, I don't know any of the meaning. I just know.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Chorus.
Why is it a bad thing that you drove your Chevy to levee? Anyway, for timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up in Middle America with Vin and Sori. And you've got the big homie DL Beluga on there. A bunch of people mad at DL Beluga.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Poor guy.
There was this
Did he have it coming?
There was this one guy that was like, "Oh, this kid gets beaten up in school or whatever." I got a good chuckle out of that because less than a week ago, DL threw himself into a situation that I knew for a fact that guy would.
I know.
would never. Shout out to DL Beluga though. Shout out to the internet jihadists.
I was talking to my friend. She's like, "You must have been so scared." I said, "Yep." And then she said, "But so proud." I said, "Yep."
Yeah, DL is he's a real deal. He's on some gangster shit.
He's growing up.
He is, unfortunately for me. If you, dear listener, would like your song reviewed in this particular situation, you want to join an alliance. So an alliance is a collection of people, and they pull their points together on Patreon. $1 at the gate gets you in, and then you get to help us decide what songs we're going to listen to. So this was the call. Mm-hmm. The Core Alliance selected this song, headed up by Pony, the great Pony. I was just talking to Pony last night. She hit me up. I was like, "Yo, Pony, what's good?"
Hey, Pony.
Talked to Pony in a while. Mm-hmm. Okay, nobody wants to hear me talk anymore. This is American Pie by Don McLean.
I saw that Pony's message had come through, and I was just so, drained that I couldn't even, open one message. I was like, I just need to sleep. I'm so tired. But I was extremely tempted to open Pony's.
Right, yeah. I know. She's got that privilege. Certain people in the channel. All right, you ready?
Through the cracks.
All right, here we go.
A long, long time ago, I can still remember how that music used to make me smile. And I knew if I had my chance that I could make those people dance, and maybe they'd be happy for a while. But February made me shiver with every paper I'd deliver. Bad news on the doorstep, I couldn't take one more step. I can't remember if I cried when I read about his widowed bride, but something touched me deep inside the day the music died. So bye bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, "This'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die." Did you write the book of love, and do you have faith in God above? If the Bible tells you so. Do you believe in rock and roll? Can music save your mortal soul? And can you teach me how to dance real slow? Well, I know that you're in love with him, 'cause Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye and singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Now for 10 years we've been on our own, and moss grows fat on a rolling stone. But that's not how it used to be. When the jester sang for the king and queen in a coat he borrowed from James Dean, and a voice that came from you and me. Oh, and while the king was looking down, the jester stole his thorny crown. The courtroom was adjourned. No verdict was returned. And while Lenin read a book on Marx, the quartet practiced in the park, and we sang dirges in the dark. The day the music died, we were singing bye bye Miss America. I drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys been drinking whiskey and rye and singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Helter skelter in the summer swelter, the birds flew off with a fallout shelter. 8 miles high and falling fast, landed foul on the grass. The players tried for a forward pass, with the jester on the sidelines in a cast. Now the halftime air was sweet perfume, while the sergeants played a marching tune. We all got up to dance, oh, but we never got the chance, 'cause the players tried to take the field. The marching band refused to yield. Do you recall what was revealed the day the music died? We started singing bye bye Miss America. I drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys been drinking whiskey and rye and singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Oh, and there we were all in one place, a generation lost in space, with no time left to start again. So come on, Jack, be nimble, Jack, be quick. Jack Flash sat on a candlestick, 'cause fire is the devil's only friend. Oh, and as I watched him on the stage, my hands were clenched in fists of rage. No angel born in hell could break that Satan spell. And as the flames climbed high into the night to light the sacrificial rite, I saw Satan laughing with delight. The day the music died, he was singing bye bye Miss America. I drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And the old boys been drinking whiskey and rye and singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. I met a girl who sang the blues, and I asked her for some happy news, but she just smiled and turned away.
That's not a good thing.
I went down to the sacred store where I'd heard the music years before, but the man there said the music wouldn't play. And in the streets the children screamed, the lovers cried and the poets dreamed, but not a word was spoken. The church bells all were broken, and the 3 men I admire most, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, they caught the last train for coast the day the music died. And they were singing, bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. They were singing, bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this'll be the day that I die.
Well,
It's about
okay.
a war, right?
No. This song is about a lot of things, I think.
One of the things is war.
So, I
It's a
watched this
relationship
movie. I
song.
watched this movie called La Bamba. La 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 Bamba.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a bunch of musicians. They died in a plane crash.
Okay.
So I think that's what this song is about. Right? Those people died in a plane crash. The day the
really?
music died.
Yeah, but it talked about a sergeant and...
No, I know. There's like a bunch of cultural... So there's this website called... we should put the link in the description. It's called Understanding American Pie and Interpretation. And this guy like goes line by line by line. Yeah, it's 13 pages on the internet. But I think it seems to be about... the loss of innocence. I think like he's saying that when those people died... that because this is right here. The saying tackles the evolution of rock and roll through the 60s following the 1959 plane crash that led to the death of Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper. Which I don't know who sang La Bamba, but it was one of those guys. It's probably Richie Valens. But anyway, it was a horrible... So my mom, we're watching this movie, and obviously she knew what was going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And, so yeah, it dies the guy
so
dies in a plane
terrible.
crash. And, my mom, she was one of she liked to be sad sometimes. She liked being sad, I think.
Oh, yeah. I get that.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. So, like...
But it's not for movies. I don't want to be drawn out movie. I want to have song.
It was a pretty depressing movie, man. Because the entire time throughout the movie, she kept, this is so terrible. What happened to them boys? Like the whole time I was like, okay, they're gonna die. Okay, all right. You know what I'm saying? It was like terrible. But anyway, I think at the end of the movie they played this song.
Oh well.
So I don't know. La Bamba, I think is the name of the movie. I don't know. La Bamba. Yeah, there it is. La Bamba. This is that guy. This guy that never ages. This guy, Lou Diamond Phillips, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so let me see if that was on the soundtrack. La 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 bamba. You know what I'm saying? La 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 bamba. La, la, la. Anyway, well, no, it's not on there. Everything is by the Los Lobos is the name of the band. Anyway, I'm pretty sure, I heard the song in relation to this thing. Anyway, La Bamba was the name of the movie, but it seems like he's using that point as like a loss of innocence for America in total. Like, not just that those people died.
When did the plane crash happen?
1959.
Yeah, but what month?
I don't know.
I didn't know if it was February. He said, but February made me shiver.
Probably. They probably all died in February. Let's see.
With every paper I deliver, bad news on the doorstep. I couldn't take one more step. I can't remember if I cried when I read about his widowed bride. It must have been. And
yeah, 3 February 1959.
Touched me deep inside the day the music died. Well, that's so sad.
Yeah. So, I think, like...
I thought it was like, you know how when there's like different war situations and people have to they had to black out their windows and turn off their music and then the government takes over and all the radio stations get shut down and there's no news and there's, you know what I mean? Like, I thought it was one of those situations.
It just seems to me like in the 50s and 60s. Now, I'm it just seems like people were like more affected by things. Like now it's like a musician dies, it's like, like, I don't know.
I mean,
it's weird. Like, so, like, I'm dealing with King Von. King Von just recently died, a couple days ago, and he died on some bullshit. He didn't even die over some gangster shit. He died over some stupid argument about a girl. It's ridiculous. And he's like, he was in a fight. Like, he was in, some situation that me and my friends coming up, like, we went through millions of times.
yeah.
And then dude rolls up and just shoots him. And the guy was like, he had 3 kids. He was, at the same time, like, he was a killer. He was a murderer. Like, it's just a fact. Like, he killed a girl, for God's sake. I mean, she was a bad girl. I mean, the girl was, she was on like 20 hits. I mean, these are Chicago people. But I don't know, like, when Biggie died, all of New York was basically shut down. So I guess it's different. When Biggie died, like, all of New York was shut down. Like, it was terrible. Pac died, same thing over on the West Coast. Kurt Cobain died, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was bad. Like, I didn't really understand what was going on.
Yeah, but I feel like, go ahead.
No, but it just looks to me like the entire when I saw the movie, it looked like the entire country was like more.
Yeah, but when you're looking at the 50s, you're not looking at, like, we've said this before, like, we've been viewed by, like, in those standards, we would be considered extremely famous, but we're just like a little niche on YouTube that has, you know what I'm saying?
True.
So when you look now, it's like
people.
there's so many people that are like semi-famous, you know what I mean? Where before the number was much smaller, and you didn't hear all the information about all these people, so they weren't regular people to you, they were celebrities.
Right.
And so people kind of like, I think that people did the whole like celebrity stalking thing differently. Like now, there's like so much information that it's like, like we put out 2 videos a day. Like there's probably bunches of people that watch one of them a week. You know what I'm saying? So like there's so much information that you're putting out that, I just think that when the artists were just putting out a little bit, you really couldn't get to them. You couldn't, the only time that you would see them is if you happen to go to a show.
And there was only like 2 or 3 stations on TV.
There's only a few stations, so there's just not a lot of exposure for them. And so when you grow up on them and then something happens to them, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're all young too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty terrible situation. But I think this is probably one of the most... This song, like, is terrifying to me. Like, it's probably one of the scariest songs I've ever heard, especially that last verse. It's pretty crazy.
Okay, well, I'm not there yet. So
well, it's just
I thought it was about a war.
It could encompass the war. I mean, he wrote this song in what? 71? You know what I'm saying? So obviously Vietnam's in everybody's consciousness. So he says a long time ago. He wrote it in 71. Those people died in 59. That's not a long time ago. It's like, what, 10, 12 years? But I think he's saying the country has changed so much in those 12 years or whatever. Between 59 and 71. I don't think I might have my math right. The country changed so much that, it's almost like a long time ago. Like, the country is completely different. Like, if you look at, like, how America evolved between the 50s and the 70s, like, everything was different. You had the free love thing, and racism was getting confronted. Whereas in the 50s, racism was just accepted. Oh, yeah. And that's just the way it is, and everybody lived a peaceful life. In the 70s and stuff, like, it was getting confronted. Like, people were getting confronted about it. And, there was a free love thing, the hippie movement. There's just so many things going on with so many changes. I could definitely see, like an older generation of people being like, yo, these kids are ruining everything. And, the anti-war stuff, whereas, World War I, World War II, there was all this support, guys to come back, it was all that. But now, like, dudes are coming back from war, they're getting spit on, like, all this crazy, you got Fonda hanging out with the Viet Cong, dissing American troops, like, just, like, I think the America, if you were, like, a guy in the 50s or a girl in the 50s, and, that's where you came of age, and then, like, witnessing the America in the 70s, they would have been like, yo, what the hell is happening? Sexual revolution, women burning their bra, just like all types of crazy shit. Like, I don't think probably there's ever been that much change in America in that short of a period of time. I think it must have been really volatile for people. So I think the guy's probably talking about like the loss of innocence of. I think he's using that plane crash to be the loss of innocence of America as a whole, which obviously, from my perspective, you know, America was never innocent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some of my Malcolm energy, but
yeah.
But I understand. But this is what I said about the Tom McDonald song yesterday. Like,
you
I understand the guy's lived experience. So for those people, if you were a white person and, you know, everybody was getting along fine, like, you don't know that your black neighbor is not getting along fine and he hates not, you know, sitting in the back of the bus and shit. You're just going on with life. Everything is cool. And then in 12 years, your country doesn't even look like I can understand being like, yo, everything was better like back then. And when those boys died, that was it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that.
Yep. I can see that too.
A long time ago, I could still remember how that music used to make me smile. I knew if I had my chance that I could make those people dance and maybe they'd be happy for a while. So it's like, hey, I'd like to be like those guys. You can watch them on TV or whatever. And then February made him shiver. Every paper I delivered. Bad news on the doorstep. I couldn't take one more step. I can't remember if I cried when I read about the widowed bride, but something touched me deep inside the day the music died. Yeah, I did.
That's gonna be a pretty crazy thing because the news came, like, now you get your news everywhere, but if you were the one delivering that newspaper and you knew you were just dropping bad news at every door.
Well, it's true. That's true. Because you don't. Yeah, especially if you're like have one of those early paper routes.
It's so funny because I would just be like, "This is the news. I'm trying to get back home," and you'd be like, "Yeah, I feel like your face would be getting lower each paper you delivered."
It depends on where I was. You know, this version of me, absolutely. Other versions of me, not so much. But yeah, I mean, it's really crazy. Like, I've heard most of the catastrophic news in 2020.
Facebook.
I've heard it from Facebook. Cove, we were in the gym when I heard about Cove. But when I heard about Duck, that was on Facebook.
Well, I thought you already knew about it because I came over to you. I was like, "There's something called." Was it called COVID? Was it called COVID-19 at the very beginning?
I didn't say COVID. I said Kobe.
Oh, Kobe. Yeah.
Bryant. We were in the gym. The whole Kobe thing happened.
Yeah.
No, I heard about COVID from Tim Pool.
Yeah, you already knew about it. I didn't know anything about it.
Chinese dude was hemming up that lady. She's like, "Oh, let me go." He's like, "Stop it! You're not being honorable," or whatever.
I saw it. I'm like.
Shout out to China for winning Biden that election.
And I saw that it was like coming across the news. I'm like, "What is this?" And then I started reading. So I thought, I went over. I was like, "Vin," I'm like, "You should see what's going on." He was like, "Yeah, I already know about that."
What,
I'm like,
COVID?
Yeah. Yeah, the Kobe thing happened when we were like walking out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it came on. I was like,
I forgot. Something else bad had happened like the day before.
Yep.
Somebody else had died.
You did that laughing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. This person I worked with, one of my partners, she rest in peace, the big homie. She died. And then like the next day Kobe died. Yeah, it was a Sunday, I think. I don't know. Man, that was fucked up. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure. I found out about it, Danny, on Saturday, and then went to the gym, found out about Kobe. I was just like, all right, man.
Yeah, he did that laugh.
It's like, all right.
It's not really funny.
Yeah, that was yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult stuff. But yeah. So now you find out all this, you know, and it's weird because when you find out something on the news, they're like, yo, this happened. But when you find out about Facebook, they talk about it like it already happened. So like that was weird to me. So he was like, yeah, you know what happened to Duck, blah blah blah. I'm like, wait a second, what are you talking about? He's like, yo, bro, Duck's dead. I'm like, nah, bro. And then sure enough, boom, and the same thing happened with Vaughn. With Vaughn, I knew he was gonna die though. I
really?
I knew it. Duck, I really thought he was gonna make it, but Vaughn, I knew he was gonna die. You can't kill. He killed at least 3 people. And got off every single time.
I'm surprised you thought after Duck did.
And then he went out and rapped. I didn't know he did that until after he died.
Oh, okay.
Because then I YouTubed him and immediately Dead Bitches came out. I was like, all right, no, now you dead, Nick. So there you go. But anyway, like it I definitely remember. Something just came up about Vaughn. I definitely remember when Big died, and I was very surprised about how it hit me, because I felt really, really bad. And actually, the more and more the days went on, the worse and worse and worse I felt about it. Because I wasn't really a Biggie fan, but you heard him all, like, right up to the day he died, like, he was dominating just dominating the airwaves. It was crazy. So I think news like that would have hit you even more, like, because you really didn't know. There was no cell phone, there was no nothing, so you're just going on and there's nothing to prepare you for it, and then bang, all these people are dead at the same time. Holy shit, that must have been that must have been a real loss of innocence, I think, because, you know, like, people in TV function like divine beings to a degree. I was listening to a guy yesterday. He was doing an interview. It was a really sick interview. He was like part of a whatever, but like stars on TV, like you call them stars, right? If you get biblical, like, you know, stars or angels or whatever, like they're like divine beings, because like they come down, they bless you, but you can't really contact them. Like, you have no especially in the 50s, like, you have no contact with these people. That's why when they show up, everybody wants to touch them.
Yeah.
Because you've been experiencing them from afar, and it's kind of like a person's relationship with God. Like, you experience him from afar, you know he's there, blah, blah, blah. But if Jesus showed up, like, that's the first thing you'd want to do is you want to touch him. So, like, these people... And you know, we call it American Idol, yada yada yada.
I mean,
like,
that's not what happened in the Bible. Everybody kind of got scared, right?
Well, no. I mean,
The angel of the Lord, when he showed up in the Old Testament.
I'm talking about Jesus. Like, if Jesus showed up, like, and everybody was like haggling for him, and he had to get away.
Oh, when he was like walking around. Okay.
Yeah. Like when he manifests himself in an accessible form.
Who touched me?
Like, yeah. And then Peter's like, bro, there's like 700 people here. Like, what are you talking about? Like, of course, like, everybody's touching you, bro.
I'm gonna ask who touched you.
Yeah.
It's like a big crowd like this.
Yeah. I never really understood. I'm like, yo, how you gonna talk to Jesus like that, bro? What's wrong with you? I'd have struck you. I'd have smitten him, smote him. Is that what you? I'd have smoked.
Yep. I'd have smoked the man.
Shout out to Zeb. I was having a conversation, and like I was talking about how Dorian, he gave this kid a 9 Jammy Bible in downstairs, and you know, your son, you know, whatever. And Zeph was like, wait, your kid hit somebody in church? And I was like, yeah. He's like, wouldn't they be like smoted or something? Yeah, the day the music died. That's crazy. Bye bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee. Okay, so this guy's saying that in the commercials, the Chevy truck, which was like the thing of the yeah. This is America, you know, whatever. Yeah. They would always drive by a levee. I guess that's you know, like the scenic route. Like, oh, he's driving by a levee. But he's saying, I drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. So it's basically like the concept of America, you know, Miss American Pie, like the domesticated woman who makes pies, and then the rugged guy who drives a Chevy truck. Like, these are the basic structures of how we're going to build our society. All that shit's gone because Miss American Pie is burning her bra now. She's out there on a field somewhere in Woodstock having free sex and getting high with people, and this dude in the Chevy is trading out his Chevy. He's trading out his Chevy for one of them, you know, little buses, you know, like in
those van things.
One of those van things with the roses on them, with the you know, California or Bust or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's Scooby Doo, you know what I'm saying? That thing that Scooby Doo.
What is the name of that thing?
I don't know, but he like all that shit's getting traded in. Good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye, singing "This Will Be the Day That I Die." So like, that's the end of that version of like American, you know, structures and things like that. It's like never going to be the same after that. It's true. Like, we've never gotten back there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And obviously there's a lot of people that are like, good. Because I wouldn't have survived back then.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know.
People would have had to die for that
No,
shit.
it's not called that.
I don't care. Mystery Machine, whatever. But everybody knows what we're talking about.
Conline. No, there was like a name that they called it.
Did you write the book of love, and do you have faith in God above if the Bible tells you so? Again, this is like the simple faith that people had. Well, the book says it, that's it. Like, it's very interesting to me because, I'm coming up in this, culture where everything theological gets questioned. Nothing from the scientists get questioned.
Right,
I was just hanging
That's
out.
flipped.
I was just talking to one of my atheist friends. He's like, skepticism is the best way to view reality, blah, 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 blah. I was like, word, bro. He's like, yeah, because that way you don't believe in shit gullibly without any, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, you right. He's like, so he's going on, and I'm agreeing with him. And he's like, so how are you a Christian? I was like, well, how are you an atheist? I said, hey, man, you believe the Big Bang happened? He's like, of course I do. 13 point whatever billion years ago. I'm like, word, bro. Like, were you there? He goes, no. I said, so how do you, he's like, scientists have said, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, how do you know what they're saying is true? And like, which scientists? Like, you know these people? He's like, but there's evidence. I'm like, have you put eyes on this evidence? You just believe that they, and he's like, you're being ridiculous. I said, what happened to your skepticism, fam? What happened to your skepticism? I've very rarely met a consistent skeptic or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I do think it was a turning. I think, all these different revolutions that were happening were definitely like a way of like turning your back on God. Or I don't know if it's God as much as it is the version of faith that says you just can't question anything.
Yeah.
You can't question everything. You just have to believe it because I said so. Although, again, the quote scientists and then the quote political people, whatever it is, like you can't question that either. Mm-hmm. You can't say like, how do you really know the Big Bang really happened? Mm-hmm. Well, the scientists, like, do an experiment. Go to all your atheist friends and be like, I'm not really sure the Big Bang actually happened like that, and see what happens. Like, so, like, people. Yeah. Especially when it comes to like grounding presuppositions, like what is a lens by which I'm going to view the world? Mm-hmm. People don't want to question those. Mm-hmm. Like once you have that established, people want to question the other stuff. Mm-hmm. But they want to start off with a grounding, and obviously as a Bonzian presuppositionalist, whatever, I'd say, well, yeah, that's because, that's impossible to reason outside of a circle. Mm-hmm. But that's a completely separate discussion. But it's one of those things where it's like, you believe you have faith in God above. Now do you believe in rock and roll? Now do you believe that rock and roll can save your mortal soul? And can you teach me how to dance real slow? Well, I know that you're in love with him because I saw you dancing in the gym.
I thought that was really cute.
That's cute?
Yeah.
He's basically saying, you don't love me, girl. These hoes ain't loyal. He said, you're in love with him. I saw you dancing in the gym. So she's saying,
well, yeah,
can you teach me to dance real slow? And he's like, nah, you were with that guy. I saw you dancing in the gym with the guy. What are you talking about? With a pink carnation in a pickup truck, but I knew I was out of luck. Because he saw Shorty
the big music guy. No,
dancing in the gym, whatever that means.
Ooh, yeah, who dances in the gym? I mean, I thought... Oh, really? You both kicked off your shoes. But then he said, man, I dig those rhythm and blues.
Yeah. I think that this has a bunch of layers in it. I think maybe he's talking about, like maybe his relationship to music. Like, he's no longer dealing with the slow stuff or whatever, and now he's going to the rhythm and blues. Because he just talked about rock and roll. Mm-hmm. He's talking like how America went away from like the innocent sounding music to now rhythm and blues and rock, which is sort of more edgy, which is interesting because we came up with rhythm and blues. That's us. We also came up with rock music. That's also us. You're welcome. But that's one time, like when we first started this channel, one of these like Nazi people was like, how dare you listen to our music? And I was typing out a response, and Ben Webb said, motherfucker. Ben Webb said, it was they or the ones that came up with everything, you idiot. That's when...
How dare you listen to our music?
Yeah. Ben Webb beat me to it. I was typing up the response. And holy moly. Yeah, so maybe this is also a metaphor for like the transition of young people from being in love with slow 50s music to like rhythm and blues and rock and roll. I first heard about rock and roll. It's the strangest thing. It was like a Christmas dinner in Jamaica. I think I was like 3.5, 4 years old. And my dad's brother came over and they're talking and he's like, yeah man, and then go and pound the drum and the drum when you won't sit down and then do all this with the guitar, move on the guitar and my pops was like, wow. And sure enough, we turned on the thing and there's this guy, I don't know what it was, it must have been some American station, but it wasn't like heavy, like, I was 4, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it was like, and then the guy, for some reason, when the drummer stood up and was hitting the hi-hat or whatever, that made my uncle so angry. He said, sit down upon your ass! Sit down!
Sit down upon your ass!
He was really...
Why
I have no idea. It's like, to this moment, I was like... I thought, well, I mean, I was a kid, right? So I was like, this dude's in trouble. You better sit down. Dad's like, well, why is that bad, though?
Why is it bad?
But I knew it was bad because my uncle was... But that's the thing about Jamaicans. Jamaicans get like really exercised about shit that you don't really need to get upset about. Like, he wants to jump, bro. Let him jump. Like, what's the fuck is wrong with you? Like, let the guy drum. Like,
see, we wouldn't have even been watching that. It would have not even got turned on.
Oh, they were completely fascinated by it because the guys kept moving with the music.
Yeah.
And, and they're like, oh, what is it? Everyone was like clouded into the living room. It was just like, okay. Like,
having a memory like you have must be like, it's bittersweet.
Well, I don't remember a lot
4
of...
years old.
I was probably about 3.5. I don't really remember, because I remember my 4th birthday. I remember waking up and being like, I'm 4. I remember saying that to myself. And I had these little, like, pants, and I was wearing them and stuff. Yeah. But I remember thinking, I'm 4. And I look in the mirror, and I was like, I'm 4. I'm, like, seeing it right now. But my dad had this really
I feel like Orion will be like that. Like, today, you had it... We had to keep him quiet because you were on work calls.
Yeah.
And so he came over and he was like,
trying to make that money.
He needed to take a nap, but his bed is right by Vin's office, so we couldn't do both. So I was just trying to like appease him to keep him quiet. And he comes over to me, he's like,
a lot of appeasement for that guy.
Yeah. He starts crying, and I just took my piece of gum. I had a tiny little piece of gum, and I popped it in his mouth. And I was like, I wonder what he's going to do with this. No, suffocated him. He chewed that gum for over an hour.
Really?
Yeah. He seems too young to know how to chew gum.
Everything this guy does is this one thinks that he's like, he must be a different kind of kid.
Yep.
Yeah. Now for 10 years we've been on our own, and Moss grows fat on a Rolling Stone, right? So
right, Rolling Stone.
That's the band Rolling Stones, right? But that's not how it used to be when the Jester sang for the King and Queen in a code he borrowed from James Dean. This guy's saying that was about Bob Dylan. So I guess Bob Dylan and James Dean were friends, I'm not sure. And a voice that came from you and me, oh, while he was the king looking down, the Jester stole his thorny crown. James Dean died, and then Bob Dylan got in like this horrible car accident. And like he was out of commission. He almost died. He was out of commission for a couple years, and like the records that he made were not really that good.
Oh, that's sad.
And then so the Jester stole his thorny crown. The courtroom was adjourned. No verdict was returned. And while Lennon read a book on Marx, so that's John Lennon, the quartet practiced in the park. That's the Beatles, right? We sang dirges in the dark the day the music died. So that's a transition from like, 50s, hey, swing, whatever, to like R&B, rhythm and blues, jazz, rock, Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan's out of commission, and then it gets handed off to the Beatles. Mm-hmm. The Beatles were not a revolution sonically, I don't know, but lyrically, like this dude is reading Marx. And you're in the middle of a jihad with the Russians. See, the Russians have been destroying our lives well before 2016.
Yep.
I had to do it. Yo, that Russian thing is never going to die, bro.
Nope.
It's never going to die. So, yeah.
Good die young.
Well, I think the Beatles kind of like... So, can you imagine being one of these parents? Like, your world is very simple. Russians are bad. call Marx is bad. You know, it's like when, what's his face? Bush, my man Bush came out. He said, terrorism is bad. Freedom is good. And that was supposed to be like, oh, he's drawing a line in the sand. None of this moral relativism bullshit. You know, terrorism is bad. Freedom is good. Like, it was like communism is horrible. Communism is terrible. Marxism. You know what I'm saying? But then your kid is listening to the Beatles, and there's all this Marxist over and undertones to what the guy's saying. Like, see, I didn't know. Like, my mom used to tell me, like, the Beatles were like the devil or something like that.
I was told they were bad, too.
John Lennon was the devil and all that. Like, I didn't really know that a lot of that shit just came down to capitalism. It's really crazy. Like,
I honestly don't know why my parents made me.
When you like step out of like the capitalist like mindset and you look at everything. It's really interesting to me, like, how much capitalism affects so many things, and so many perspectives about people and all the rest of it. You know, I would have loved to have heard some more John Lennon's more Marxist type songs, because I'm sure they were much more intelligently written than Imagine.
Oh my gosh! If you haven't seen that review and you want to be pissed off, go watch it.
To this day, I'm still confused by people's reaction to that review. Unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, Marx is a deep dude. I've been really enjoying a lot of his stuff. You know, I don't agree with everything that the man says, but look, if you read him, it's impossible to do the lazy criticisms. Like, I know when a person has not read Marx, with the exception of Jordan Peterson. But I give Jordan Peterson an exception because Peterson is so influenced by Solzhenitsyn that, you know, like, he's not, it's almost like a genetic fallacy in a sense. Like, oh, these people call themselves Marxists and they did this horrible thing, so that means everything in Marx did was wrong. And I'm like, he's not really doing a lot of source material. He's saying, look what these people did who were Marxists. And, you know, the fact of the matter is, Marx did advocate for violence. Like, when the proletariat were raising up and doing all this violent shit, he was like, we just need to find a way to control it and harness it properly. That's why when these people start calling Black Lives Matter Marxists and all that, I'm like, okay, these guys have never read Marx, or they've never read BLM material, because if they did, they'd know they're incompatible. Das Kapital is more like philosophy and theory of economics. It's not really like, you know, the Communist Manifesto is, you know, workers of the world unite and all this big flowery language, but, you know, but
I feel like I still didn't get an answer. So is it a hard read? Like, I don't think it's a hard read. Well, yeah, but for like other people, like, what have you ever read that you were like, this is a hard read?
John Owen, anything from Mortification of the Flesh to the Death of Death and the Death of Christ is a very, very hard read. Jonathan Edwards' a treatise on the nature of true virtue. That was a very hard read. I had to read that literally about 15 times.
Oh my gosh!
Finally get it, you know. But,
okay.
But Marx, I don't think is a hard read. I mean,
is it dated language?
No, I don't think. I think it's pretty straightforward stuff. He's just connecting a lot of ideas or whatever. But anytime I hear, like, I did a thought experiment with myself one time on a fireside. You know, I just like basically guided the conversation political, and then people started bringing it there. People started talking about Marxism. I said, "How much Marx have you read?" Nobody had read shit. The only people that had actually read Marx that were in that chat were BM Fan, which of course he's the guy's like a dyed-in-the-wool Marxist, and a couple other people who are all like hyper left people.
Okay.
I'm not saying that right-wing people don't read Marx. I'm saying that the vocal people on the right wing have not read a stitch of Marx. So, but when I grew up, that name was always bad. Like, Marx and Marxism was always bad. Always bad. So I could see how, like, you're a parent and then, like, your kid is being influenced by this Marxist, and like these guys took over the world. The Beatles took over the world. So like, one of them said they were more famous than Jesus. Astaghfirullah.
That's probably why my parents said it really bad.
That's why you got, bro. Can't do that stuff. The Old Testament God is still here. And I love him for it. Holy moly, this review. Speaking of God, I thought it was really, really, like, terrifying. That last stanza.
Well, yeah, you said that.
I stood alone and afraid. I dropped to my knees and I prayed and I promised him everything I could give. And, but he talked about the Trinity and he, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Yeah. He said the church bells were all broken, and the three men I admired the most, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, they caught the last train for the coast the day the music died. Which is really, really interesting because this guy in this thing is saying that the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost isn't necessarily the Trinity.
Oh.
It is, it was John Kennedy, Robert Kennedy.
No. That's what he's saying?
And Martin Luther King.
What?
I don't know how he got there, but yeah. Which makes sense because he said the three men that he admired the most would be John Kennedy assassinated, Robert Kennedy assassinated, Dr. King assassinated. They all got assassinated. What about Malcolm? But that makes sense. Like these guys were like almost divine beings who were trying to initiate change, and they all got assassinated because he does talk about the devil throughout the song.
We were literally talking about Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Well, but I also think though that that's what I said. Like this is one of the most intelligently written songs in Western history. Period.
Whoa.
Period. Because there are so many levels.
Interpretations.
Like I'm selling this review short. This should be like a 4-hour review, but I'm not going to do that. One of these days though, when I'm by myself or at some night, I'm just going to do a 4-hour review and put it up on Patreon so the 4 people that want to hear it can get to hear it. Because sometimes some of these songs I'm like, this is terrible. Like, selling the song short. But, there's that thing in Ezekiel where the Israelites are committing idolatry, blah, blah, blah. And then you see the God leaves the Holy of Holies and he's like hanging out in the general area of the temple. Then he goes on top of the temple and then he just leaves the temple. He's like, yo, I'm out. You guys suck.
That's what I thought of.
I'm out of here.
There was like a whoosh noise or something like that.
Well, that was 70 AD.
Okay, that's the one I was thinking of. Let us leave this place.
Yeah.
That's the one I thought
That's why I said it was terrifying. And that's why you need a 4-hour long discussion for some of these things.
Yeah.
You guys have no idea what we're talking about, but believe me, it's fucking spooky. But
yeah, it is.
But in Ezekiel, like you had this like gradual progression of God away from because people like turned their backs on him. And I do think that like in the 50s or whatever, when people were looking at all these different revolutions, instead of saying, okay, which is something that like, my evangelical Trump supporting friends right now, they're like saying it's the end of the world and all this shit. Like literally people are saying, this is gonna be the mark of the beast. Like, are you kidding me? Like, bro, there's gonna be no mark of the beast because of Joe Biden? You got Joe Biden as a candidate for the Antichrist? Like, Obama I could understand. The guy was sleek, he was smooth. You couldn't take your eyes off of him.
I think that...
You couldn't take your eyes off Obama. You couldn't stop listening to brother. He came out of nowhere. You had kids singing songs about Obama. Like kids, little kids that had the little songs about Obama and shit. Like the dude was captivating. Like I understood him as a candidate for the Antichrist. I really do. Especially considering we're the original man. I understand. Because Jesus was black. So if you're going to have an Antichrist, okay, I get it. But subhanallah, Joe Biden, come on, Christians. You guys are killing me right now. Usually, I always say like, there are people, I'm saying, I'm going to write our people, blah, blah, blah. But like, and it's very hard to get me like, I'm embarrassed. But I will say that y'all are making me cringe with this bullshit about Joe Biden and how like we need like supernatural help now because Joe Biden is the president. Come on, bro. Really? The guy doesn't even know, like, he would probably turn the thing into 999 instead of 666 because of where his mind is at. And you silly people out here making a mockery of Christ having a panic attack.
My friend showed me you put like 2020 in the calculator.
Dumb as hell.
And you either like divide it. Remember how he said dial 30330 or something like that?
Yeah.
I think you like divide it by that, and like it comes out to the first three numbers or 666.
La ilaha illallah.
Look at the sign.
I'm gonna convert to Islam. The next time you silly motherfuckers put something on
I
Facebook,
just
I'm
literally
converting to
laughed.
Islam. Converting to Islam. It's over. I'm converting to Islam.
He'd be the last one I'd expect to be the Antichrist.
What my man say? And
Although
he
he's
said
supposed
convert
to
to
die
Islam.
and come back 3 days later,
No,
something like that.
no, he got a head wound. No,
Yes.
we didn't even hit him in the. Oh, the only way that Biden. I'm not gonna do that because I don't want to speak evil of Biden, but he's not the Antichrist, and he's not paving the way for the Antichrist either. Subhanallah, you guys are killing me. Obama, I understood. You tell me another public speaker who's more captivating than Obama.
Did you see what they
He had that
did to
voice,
them?
and he was all skinny and shit, but he had this like booming like black voice. Like that dude's not playing around, bro. I could definitely see him being the Antichrist.
Did you see what they did with the BLM thing of Biden?
A lot of Afghan children thought he was the Antichrist. I tell you that. Who? Biden? What did he do?
They took, well, I don't think Biden did it, but they took the BLM thing and they put underneath it, Biden loves minors.
It's not funny.
That's, well,
I don't think that's funny.
what do you mean? Which part of it is offensive to you?
Well, like the joking now, like trivialization of pedophilia.
Of BLM.
Of pedophilia. No, I think pedophilia is worse than trivializing BLM. I mean, holy moly. Like, I feel like that's something that we should never that should never be funny.
Well, I'm not so sure. Well, I'm sure that people are making a joke of it, but at the same time, we have a real problem with Biden in that situation, and everybody's just overlooking it. At least Trump stuff.
No, I'm not going to publicly accuse him, but he definitely makes me uncomfortable. Like, I would never I don't like Obama, but
at least with Trump, it's
like if I left Zoe in an Oval Office with Obama, I feel relatively good. Same about Trump actually, but Biden, I'd be uncomfortable. I'm not going to accuse brother, but I'd be uncomfortable. Okay, let's go back. And so would you. Now, you see. All the silly, people go, I can't believe you said that about Biden. You wouldn't leave your daughter alone with Biden either. Your underage daughter.
Everybody has seen him sniffing the kids.
You wouldn't do that shit.
Making the kids feel uncomfortable.
We're missing the point here. Okay, so the Trinity, so they gets up. So in Ezekiel, God gets up and he's like, yo, I'm out. You guys suck. I'm out of here. So I think a lot of people at the time were like, yo, we're doing this. Women are burning bras. They're not working at home. Like, God's going to turn us back on America. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think there was a lot of that going on from the religious, not even the religious right, period. Because in the 50s and stuff, you didn't even have a religious right. The religious right was the whole country.
Yeah.
So all your parents are saying that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so I think there's like a lot of layers here. Like this guy, I don't know how he came up with the algorithm to come out with Martin Luther King and all that. Let me see what he says. He says, the assassinations of Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and the ensuing black riots. Let me see. Holy Ghost. Let me write this down. Yeah, so right there where it says, the Father, Son, from this, I don't know where that came from.
That it became those three people you mentioned?
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Oh.
But given, these three enigmatic figures resonate strongly with this period and carry more than one association. The most obvious being the three performers, Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper. Because those are three guys that died in the plane crash.
Yeah.
Who died in an Iowa cornfield on that fateful day in 1959. Jeez. So that would have brought the song full circle, right? And then I was saying earlier, they're like divine beings on TV.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
They could also be symbolic of the three political assassinations of the 1960s: John Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, whose violent deaths shook the foundation of American optimism and naivete during those years, especially when we figured out who really killed King Dr. King. We'll see that next year. But given that the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost seem to be alive and well and living in the present tense of this verse, 1970, we might look elsewhere to identify them. In a quote from January 1972 Life magazine, Don McLean, speaking of Buddy Holly, gives us a better clue as to how to identify the trio. He was a symbol of something deeper than the music he made. He made a career and a sort of group he created. The interaction between the lead singer and the three men, italics mine, backing him up, was a perfect metaphor for the music of the 60s and for my own youth. So those three men could also be the crickets representing the surviving remnants of Holly's enthusiastic spirits and by association symbolic of the happier optimism of their time. I don't think that that's true. But it just goes to show you how deep this guy's lyrics are. Mm-hmm. I really, really like this song. I'm going to be like, this song's going to be in my head probably in the next 4 months.
It's catchy. I like it.
I am. I'm going to like, one of these days when I'm on one of these all-nighters or whatever, I'm just going to go and just shoot.
Might as well.
It's just going to be a stream of consciousness for 4 hours.
Like,
this is a really
I'm
deep
usually
song.
for all for like put that up on Patreon, but I feel like if you're gonna shoot a 4-hour video,
Nobody wants to hear that shit, bro.
put that up so more people can watch it.
Nobody
Yeah, but let's say, like, if no one wants to hear it and you only release it to patrons, I mean, there's more people in the world than there are patrons that we have. So, like, I think it would get viewed more if you put it public.
I don't necessarily want it to be viewed more.
Oh, well. Shoot the video then. For nothing.
Oh, somebody just hit me up with a producer.
I can't imagine watching a 4-hour video on a breakdown of a song, but whatever. Anyway, let's go.
This is an 11 for me.
What?
100,000%. It's an 11. It's honestly one of the best songs I've ever heard in my life lyrically. And even the tempo is saying something deep. This guy, there's just a moment, I just think that like he just got caught in a moment of inspiration and he just wrote something that is massively significant. It sounds like a pop song, but I mean, show me another song that's got the social commentary that this guy has.
Okay, it's a 10 for me.
Well, you're wrong. Vin out.
If I don't agree with him, I'm wrong. You
No,
saw that?
just on
Everybody
this one.
saw that, right?
No, just on this one.
Sorry out.
If you say 2 + 2 is 5, you're wrong. Gone.
From you and me. Oh, and while the king was looking down, the jester stole his thorny crown. The courtroom was adjourned. No verdict was returned. And while Lenin read a book on Marx, the quartet practiced in the park, and we sang dirges in the dark. The day the music died, we were singing bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye and singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Helter skelter in the summer swelter, the birds flew off with a fallout shelter. 8 miles high and falling fast, it landed foul on the grass. The players tried for a forward pass with the jester on the sidelines in a cast. Now the halftime I met a girl who sang the blues, and I asked her for some happy news, but she just smiled and turned away. I went down to the sacred store where I'd heard the music years before, but the man there said the music wouldn't play. And in the streets the children screamed, the lovers cried and the poets dreamed, but not a word was spoken.